Budget after budget, the real estate industry associations meet the finance minister, they give their representations, they come out with their set of demands. Irony is that most of their demands are from supply side. The demands are how to incentivize the developers. The buyers are nowhere in the picture. The demands and concerns of developers and the home buyers are often juxtaposed in this business. There are many industries where the voices of buyers are not heard, representation of buyers is non existent. The difference between those industries and real estate is the fact that in certain other industries, or should I say in most of the industries, the buyer goes out to purchase a product. In the case of real estate, more often than not, a buyer is buying a promise and not a product. Product is not even ready when the buyer has purchased that product, as well as this is one product which is life's costliest purchase, where the buyer has borrowed money to buy that asset class. No other asset class exists where the buyer borrows money to buy that out. That makes the case of real estate buying different from other industries. A number of analysts believe that the home buyers representation is not possible in the business of real estate because a home buyer is not a homogeneous entity. Let's today try to classify home buyers into different segments. As a matter of fact, if we look at the housing demography in this part of the world, the home buyers are mostly confined to top 10 cities and they come from top 10% of the demographic profile. That is one of the reasons that real estate has always been very metro city centric. That has also led to the lopsided development of real estate in this part of the world. So, in order to classify these buyers, I first look at top 10 cities and prospective home buyers who come from the top 10 demographic profile. What are their demands with the Union Finance Minister on the eve of budget? One, of course, is interest exemption up to rupees 5 lakh on interest paid with the housing loan. If that is not done, then in the days to come and in today's uncertain economic scenario, the borrowing will reduce and which will affect the economic cycle and the recovery of that economic cycle. Another demand with this set of buyers would be GST waiver. It is ironic that at a time when every other home buyer wants to buy a ready-to-move property, it is preposterous to find that the ready-to-move property does not have the GST component, whereas an under-construction property has the GST component. Is there any incentive to buy an under-construction property? An under-construction property was making sense till the time property was appreciating year on year, which is not the case today. So GST waiver on under-construction property is the next demand. There is a mismatch between circle rate and actual market value of the property. Though it has been allowed to have some around 20%, the real demand is that circle rate difference should be allowed up to 30-35%. Because failing this, in many cases, home buyers prefer to go for cash deals. Extension of PMAY and CLSS is another set of demand for this set of buyers. Mind you, we are talking about top 10 cities buyers who are prospective home buyers. How budget will incentivize them? What are their demands? Next is the existing buyer. And this existing buyer is today very critical for the economic recovery, because many of these home buyers are reeling under job losses or salary cut. If this set of buyer starts exiting the housing market, starts getting into distress sale, then the entire ecosystem of housing market will collapse. So what is the demand of this set of buyers? One predominant demand is that there should be conditional loan deferment or restructuring in case of job losses or salary cut. Another demand is capping of capital gain tax. Capital gain tax should not be more than 10%, whether it is short-term capital gain or long-term capital gain. This has always been a demand. This has always been a reason why those who can afford to buy are often reluctant to buy second property or third property. After these two set of buyers, these are the two set of buyers who live in top 10 cities. They are coming from the top 10% of demographic profile. Can this set of buyers alone drive real estate to every nook and corner of this country? Definitely not. Real estate needs to increase its demographic base. Real estate needs to get into tier 2 cities, give a demand push in that cities. What should be done? Or what are the concerns of buyers in these tier 2 and 3 cities? First and foremost, the demand is for affordable housing and low cost housing. Affordable housing and low cost housing can ignite real estate demand in many of the smaller cities. Social housing is another area where not enough has been done in this country. Now, when we look at the demands of these three set of buyers and prospective buyers, the question is, to what extent is it feasible for the finance minister? Demand is one side of the story. What matters is that whether these demands are feasible to be fulfilled. Well, there are certain suggestions. At Track to Realty, we have worked out certain suggestions for the finance minister. One, of course, is that the time has come for the government to monetize its land. Monetization of government land, in many cases in the prime locations, can lead to creation of more affordable and social housing. We are not talking about, like many other analysts, we are not talking about interest rate as of now, because interest rate has a direct correlation with the inflation. What government needs to do is to create more jobs, because only and only jobs can lead to demand push in the sector. And when I say job push, the revival of real estate will also create more jobs within this business itself. Real estate, I have always maintained, is a very democratic job creator. This is one business which can create job across the geography and across the skill sets. You can have qualified professionals coming to join real estate business, as well as semi-skilled and unskilled laborers coming into this business. Make in India, it has to grow beyond government symbolism. So far, nothing has moved as far as Make in India is concerned. Government's infrastructure spending, 111 lakh crore was announced to be spent by 24-25. Now, if I look at the 5-year figure, then every year at least 20 lakh crore should have been spent. From last budget to this budget, not even 25% of that amount has been spent. And there are some 7,300 pending infrastructure projects. So infrastructure spending will lead to revival of demand. It will lead to job creation. It will revive the economic cycle. This is one very important aspect on which the finance minister has to work. Last, one suggestion which we believe the government should look up to is how to make real estate investment trust REIT workable in housing sector, because REIT has been a very good success story even during the lockdown, but that REIT has mostly been about commercial property. Can REIT be incentivized in housing? Can investors be incentivized to invest in REITs? I believe REIT investments should be exempted under income tax ATC, so that more and more people are incentivized to invest in REIT, especially in housing REIT. Then there are certain other pending issues where every budget has talked about it, but nothing has been done. Rental housing policy is one, and rental housing policy also has the potential to ignite the demand, to bring fresh investment into the sector. So these are the few demands which we have worked out, keeping in mind an average home buyer in mind, an average investor, small investor in mind. Irony is that the voices coming out of this real estate sector is mostly about the demand side, mostly about what developers need, what developers want. In any business, unless the demand side is incentivized, the business cannot grow in the long run.